and we're quite flattered by that. We do encourage your questions, and we'll be collecting questions, so we're hoping to have a bit of a lively discussion after Min finishes his presentation. A little bit about Min. Min Basadur began developing his insights about creative thinking and problem solving at Procter & Gamble more than 30 years ago. During that time at P&G, he received 3 U.S. patents and created a corporate-wide internal consulting practice. Following his award-winning doctoral research at the University of Cincinnati, he became a professor of management in the Michael G. DeGroote School of Business at McMaster University in Hamilton, Ontario. Min's first book, The Power of Innovation, became an instant CEO need to read. He founded Basadur Applied Creativity in 1981 and has traveled the world teaching and consulting complexity thinking with many of the world's top Fortune 500 companies. He conceived and developed the Basadur Creative Problem-Solving Profile in 1981 in response to a client's request to help people who hadn't attended a workshop better understand the process. Since then, the profile has been translated into 15 languages, and well over 50,000 people have discovered their own problem-solving styles. Now I'm going to turn it over to Min so he can do a deeper dive into the Basadur profile, as well as share many of his experiences working in the trenches, and he has lots of experience to impart on everybody. So enjoy.
Great. Thanks, Bob. And thanks to everybody again for your interest and for taking the time in these busy days. And thanks to Bob for getting us all together, putting this webinar together. And we'll work together, Bob and I. The goals for today would be, let's summarize, is sharing where and how the profile has been used for innovation, how it might apply to you. Hope that resonates. Share how you can significantly increase your innovation results and your teams, and offer finally some clear-cut next steps that you could impact your organization with quickly. So that's where we're heading. And basically, in my case, I've had a lot of fortunate things happen. And when I was at Procter & Gamble building my methodology, I was very fortunate to take a course in my doctoral program at University of Cincinnati called Organizational Effectiveness. And I said to myself, I wonder what that means. Well, I was introduced to a landmark study by Dr. Paul Mott at the University of Pennsylvania, which became the basis for the profile. Dr. Mott showed that across 8 different industries, all kinds of different industries, hospitals and steel and computers and cars, there were 3 characteristics that separated the more effective organizations from the less effective organizations. These were the 3 characteristics that he came up with, and when I saw this, it really resonated. Flexibility was one, and this is the ability of an organization to react quickly to what? Unexpected emergencies. Now, they could be positive and or negative, but it's, again, quick reaction time is needed. Now, a good example of the ability to react is the Tylenol example of about 15 years ago. And many of you will be familiar, but in essence, somebody was putting poison into the Tylenol tablets in the Chicago area. Johnson & Johnson quickly found out and determined it wasn't the rest of the country, just Chicago. They took every Tylenol tablet off the shelves, reassured the public, did discover that it was in one drugstore that someone was putting poison in and 9 people died. What they did was use that crisis as an opportunity to create the foolproof packaging we have to work with today when we're using tablets, and they also invented capsules. So that's a good example of doing a good job for the public and also using it to your advantage, competitive edge. Now, the second one is routine, and it's efficiency. And what that means is that any good organization knows its customers, they know the products and services they're making, and they've established extremely good routine procedures for making those products and services. They turn them out with high quantity, high quality, and low cost, and they relentlessly go after those day after day after day. The most famous companies in this regard would be certainly Toyota and Honda. Not in this necessarily inventing anything new, but making what they're doing better and better and better. It's called continuous improvement. Now the third one is called adaptability, and it's different. And the key word here is proactive. And adaptability is where the name of the game for competitive advantage is in this 21st century. But a good organization must do all three of those. And I'm talking about an organization, a team, an individual. Now, let's look at adaptability. It's different. One of the key points about adaptability is anticipation. Not waiting for problems to react to, but looking for new problems, trends, opportunities. What problems are your customers having that they can't solve? What problems are you going to be encountering yourself in the near future? And rather than avoiding these problems, being glad you've got them, taking them in. The Japanese call these golden eggs. And then creating new products and services in advance, having a new product ready before your customer even knows that he needs it. Another part here is proactively seeking new methods and technologies. Not being satisfied with your current routine procedures. Maybe they could be better. This might require deliberate change and disruption. And often, rather than waiting for someone else to find a new technology or new method, you've got it first. Now, one of my sabbatical projects was to go to Japan and interview some top companies over there. What the Toshiba Corporation told me was when it came to research and development, I was able to speak to their research and development managers. They said, we're similar to you in the West, but one way we're different is what we do about hiring new R&D people, scientists and engineers. We don't put them into R&D for 2 years. We start them off in a very, very different part of the company. And I wonder if you might guess, and I guessed right, they said we start them in sales. And when I said, why sales, they said, we want them verbatim. We want them to learn the problems of the customer. They said innovation starts with problem finding. We want these scientists and engineers to know that we're not going to give them problems to solve. We want them to discover problems that people can't solve. When those are solved, they become new products and services. The 3M Corporation is a very innovative corporation, and they have a rule that every 5 years, 25% of their products must be new. So they set objectives for all of their people to anticipate and look for changes to make. The Apple company. Apple is famous for knowing problems that you've got before you know it, and then having a new product out there ahead of time. When you go to the flagship store on the West Coast with a problem, you'll go and talk to an Apple person. The Apple person will be helping you, but meanwhile, he's listening to what other problems you might have as you talk. Those are gleaned and sent back to R&D, and all of a sudden, a new product pops up for that problem. Now, Amazon.com is a good example of a company that did not use technology to simply speed up how books are bought. They used technology to deliberately change totally how we buy books and other things, deliberately disrupting the routine. eBay has totally disrupted how auctions are done. They're not done the old way anymore. They're done on electronics. Now, the golden eggs I mentioned to you was a good example of promptly accepting new ideas. They told me in several of the top companies in Japan on employee engagement that employees from the day they come to the company are trained that in this company innovation and problem solving and problems are golden eggs. When you are expected to be discontented is the word, with your job and with the company products, and then we ask you to find those, put them up, use your team to solve them, and implement them. And once you've done it, you've created a top-notch suggestion. So across the whole organization is key for adaptability. Now, problem finding is obviously key, and people who are innovative and learn to be innovative don't wait for problems. They find them, and they solve them, and they implement the solutions, and this is called deliberately driving change. And the innovation process has 4 stages to mirror this adaptability situation. The 4 stages of the innovation process on which the profile is built are, first, generating. A good organization, good team, good person is getting things started, finding new problems and opportunities, always surveying their world, the outside world, looking for new problems and opportunities to spark innovation. Then the next stage is to conceptualize. What is this opportunity really like? What's this new problem? Define it and put some ideas together. Einstein once said, if I had an hour to save the world, I'd spend 55 minutes defining the problem. He felt if he understood it, the solution would come in about 5 minutes. Then we move to optimization. Optimizing means taking abstract ideas and turning them into practical solutions and plans. And they set up for the next step, which is implementation. A good organization knows that the creative process does not stop until the new solution is implemented. So it's getting things done. So that's the process that any good, and you notice that it's circular. Good organizations will make that go on continually, and they'll become an innovation organization or team. Now, different people do prefer different process stages. We showed you 4 stages. We call these styles, process styles. Now, a fundamental concept behind the profile is that creative performance is a balance. It's not a bolt from the blue. It's a balance of 4 things. Knowledge. How in the world would I ever be able to invent something new if I didn't have the knowledge to go with it? Am I trying to solve the problem of reducing cancer deaths? If I don't know anything about the body, chemistry, etc., I don't know. So I've got to have it. Next thing is to turn that knowledge into new ways of looking at problems, new ideas, using our imagination. Then we need to evaluate all the ideas we come up with so that we don't just go willy-nilly and try things out without doing a good job, and use our wisdom to evaluate the best ideas, and finally taking action. If we don't take the action, nothing was done. So these are our combinations and components of what we call a creative performance, and it's a balance. Now we have different styles of using the combination. This is where the profile comes in. One thing is about knowledge is that we're different in how we learn, how we gain knowledge, how we comprehend. Some people learn by experiencing. They don't really understand until they dive in, get their hands dirty, try it, aha, I got it. There are other people who just would not touch anything until they actually understood it first. They stand back and they learn by detached abstract thinking. They work it out in their heads, analyze, and they say, aha, I got it now, and I'll try it. Now, all of us, most of us, will favor one or the other. Some might be right in the middle, but we'll all have a blend up and down this little vertical dot in terms of what the ratio is of how we learn. Now, the next thing is no matter how we learn, we're different in how we use our knowledge. On the right-hand side, some of us prefer creating options with our knowledge. We call it ideation. They will generate new opportunities, new problems, new facts, new ideas, and enjoy it. On the other hand, there are other people who love to use their knowledge on the left-hand side to evaluate, to judge things, to understand better, and make better choices. All of us are somewhere along that horizontal continuum, and our profile versus somebody else's profile, we might be different on that axis. Now, when we put this together, we've got 4 combinations. In the top right, we've got people who love to experience, gain their knowledge that way, learn things, and then they use that knowledge to create possibilities. Everything they run into, They see a possible new problem to solve, a new opportunity. Lower right are people who get their knowledge by detached abstract thinking. They think about it, and they understand it, and then they use their knowledge to ideate different ways of defining the problem, understanding the problem, and coming up with some novel insights and solutions. On the lower left, we've got people who learn that way, but they prefer to use their knowledge for evaluating options and analyzing and coming up with really good possibilities and solutions. Top left are people who use their knowledge. They gain it by doing. They're out there trying things out, and they use their knowledge to evaluate. This is where they do not want to make mistakes in implementing, and they want to evaluate very, very well. And the way they do it is not theoretically, but by actually trying things out, trial and error. Now, these combinations are called process styles, and the top one right is called generator. The bottom one is called, on the right, is called conceptualizer, and these are people who prefer those parts of the process, those styles. Optimizers on the left, and implementers. And all of us will have a blend of those 4 different styles. Now, in the creative problem-solving process, strong generators are likely to like steps 1 and 2, which we call problem finding and fact finding. They are looking for problems and opportunities. They're looking for facts. They see connections to things other people don't, and they see everything as relevant. They're always out looking for new problems and new facts and new trends and new information. Conceptualizers like steps 3 and 4. They love problem definition. They like to understand what they're doing, and they may find a unique way to define a problem that's different from what it may appear in the first place. And they like ideas. They really do enjoy ideas, fledgling ideas. Optimizers prefer to evaluate ideas, evaluate solutions, get good solutions to semi-problems, new problems. They love to plan for implementation, and they're very proud of finding an optimal solution to a good problem. Implementers, the name of the game is action. If it's not done and put into play, no creativity resulted, no innovation resulted. Action is key, and they like to put things into play. Gaining acceptance is critical to them. They know they often need other people to help them, to buy in, but they're a little bit on the point of view that says, look, I'll give you a chance to buy in, I'll do everything I can, but when push comes to shove, I may have to go ahead and do it myself anyway. So those are the 4 styles and the 4 things that they like to do. Now, let's look at your the situation here. Many of you have done the profile. Some of you may not have. Either way, let's look at this and say, if these are the 4 styles, which one might be your most, not your only style, as we see we're blends, but preferred? Now, the generator loves new problems and challenges. They love taking new perspectives. They create options rather than evaluate. They don't mind ambiguity at all. That lets them keep all of their options open. Conceptualizers are people for problem definition is critical. They love the big picture. A clear understanding is necessary before they go ahead. They love ideas. They appreciate them. They don't like throwing away good ideas. And they're not concerned to moving to action. Optimizers, this is where solutions come in. For them, practical solutions to well-defined problems. They love to find the critical few factors, evaluate options. They don't see a whole lot of value in dreaming about wild ideas or different problems. They like to hone in, and they don't like ambiguity. Do not come to optimizers telling them, asking for help and saying, I'm not sure what I want. Now, implementers, the name of the game is action results. They do not have to understand to get going, unlike the conceptualizers. They figure they'll adapt to changing circumstances, and by trial and error, they'll figure it out. Some people see them as enthusiastic. Others see them as a little pushy or impatient, and they will bring people on board, but they do dislike apathy. So you might ask yourself which one of those might be the most like me, and we'll move on to the subject of blends. Now, quadrant tensions are critical. As you can see, the four styles we've got are quite different from each other. And if people are not aware of this, it can cause problems. For example, implementers sometimes look at conceptualizers and say, I wonder why we have these people. I wonder why we pay them. I haven't seen them do much of anything, and all they're doing is thinking and dreaming about the future. On the other hand, the conceptualizers might be looking at implementers saying, those people are dangerous. All they like to do is keep busy. They'll do anything without thinking, and they tend to bang their heads against the wall. Now, I had someone come up with, about a year ago, an implementer, a woman who said, I understand this very well, I'm an implementer. She said, I was in the kitchen the other day, and I shoved the drawer back in. Well, it bounced back. I shoved it harder. It bounced back. I kicked it, and it bounced back. And then I looked inside, and I saw the cat. So I thought that was probably an outstanding statement to explain what we mean by head banging. Optimizers might see generators as willy-nilly people. They're unable to focus on anything, especially the real problem. Before they get one done, they'll start 5 new ones, and they're always happy. They've never seen a challenge they couldn't turn down, and it's awfully hard to pin them down. On the other hand, generators might see optimizers as, those kinds of people, those people that always think they know everything. They're so narrow-minded. They can't see the big picture. They'll tell you that they know the right answer, but it might be for the wrong problem. They don't really care about different problems joined together. So these are negative things, but if people understand the different parts of the process, they will understand that they need each other to help each other get through the process. Now, job types. Our research shows that generators often are not even in companies. They're in artistic professions like writers and artists and musicians, sculptors, and but they also are in organizations. Marketing can be a generator, having to come up with new things to launch. Training and development people, helping people grow. Industrial engineering people are designed to make change in organizations, and teachers helping kids grow. Now, conceptualizers, anybody who has to understand for a living, many professors, people who are in what we call organizational development, long-range research and development, trying to understand the future, market researchers whose job it is to understand consumers and the market, anyone who has to do strategic planning, and people who are modeling economics, physics, and mathematics for other people. Optimizers, anyone who has to get a good solution quickly and on the money. And finance, accounting, IT developers, many engineers, people who have to solve technical problems. Finally, implementers, anyone who has to make sales calls quickly, get production out the door. Logistics is very big these days. How quickly do you want it? Overnight, 3 days? Logistics is huge, quick. Anybody who has to do project management has to deliver results. Anyone who's in administrative support is probably going to be implementation oriented. Now, the research shows us this. There are different process style preferences for people, but everyone is a blend. So you will see, if you've done your profile, it's not just one pigeonholed style, but a blend. Now, it's about states, not traits. Very importantly, states are very different from traits. This is not personality. This is not a personality measure. I can't emphasize that enough. You may have taken MBTI. You may have taken DISC, different personality traits. This is not a trait. This is a cognitive thinking style that blends right on differences between how we think. Personality has nothing to do with it. It's how we think. Now, we have put together some research that shows that people with different traits may interact with different states, but we're not talking personality here. Now, the next thing is, depending on your context, A state is changeable. State can change within a day if you need it. We have one of our people who has every session he runs, problem solving, has everybody chant, states not traits, states not traits. He expects people to flow through the process, changing as they go. You as an individual might change your preferred state over a period of time based on different experiences, different jobs you have. Now, number 3, depending on what you're doing, your dominant orientation is less important than your ability to shift among quadrants to be effective. We do have good research that says if you put a bunch of people who are different together, they're probably going to be performing more innovatively, but they may not enjoy themselves as much as being with similar people. Key, these are preferences. Being skilled in all 4 quadrants is really important, and people can be trained at any part of the organization to do that. We do find that generators are in shorter supply for whatever set of reasons in corporations, and as we see, different jobs and functions favor different styles. Here's an example of one blend. This person is heavily blended in 1 and 2, and 3 and 4 are not as strong for him, but this is a typical blend. Here's some other blends. Here's someone who really likes quadrant 1, not so much the others, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Now, here's a person who likes implementing and generating about the same. He loves to get them started. He likes to get them finished. Here's the person who likes to generate and understand new opportunities. Here's a person who likes to understand new opportunities and get optimal solutions. Here's a person who likes optimal solutions and getting them implemented. Then we'll have people who like 3. Here's a generator who also likes 2 and 4. And a 2 who likes 1 and 3. And here's a 3 who likes 4 and 2. And here's an implementer who likes generating and optimizing as well. So it's the blend that counts. If you've got too many implementers and optimizers, watch out. You may be missing opportunities to find ways to change and improve. If you've got too many generators and conceptualizers, you're probably going to have trouble getting things implemented and being happy no matter what's going on. Now, here's some real good examples. This is a big bank, a financial organization, attempting to establish new financial products quickly. Very competitive, but they're getting a high percentage of failures. These are their teams. Every dot there is an individual. And what you may see here is we have more implementers. And there's nothing wrong with implementing, except this organization tends to jump from generation to implementation backwards. They don't give enough time to conceptualizing and optimization. If they would follow the circle in a clockwise way, new possibilities would get much better definition, conceptualized. Then they would get designed very, very well in optimization and then tried. This is a very, very well put together company. Engineering, they make a lot of money. They're in all kinds of business units serving the aircraft airline businesses. And they want to expand faster into new products and markets, but having trouble. This is an absolutely typical training group. Can we see what's missing here? Not one generator. Now, here's some background you ought to know. The company's motto, without a word, is we're on it. They reward people for being on it. So if you look at implementers, they reward people for being at the Los Angeles airport, fixing wheels and brakes, being over here and de-icing problems. But there's not enough incentive in this company for people to use the generator style. Now, it's very clear if this company is really serious, and they were, about this, they have to make the generator quadrant more attractive, find ways to get business units, give them some seed money to encourage coming up with new projects. Now, here's an old-fashioned British company, need a breakthrough idea badly, they're so stale. They get one of their people named Trevor, form a team, and he does, and it's successful. Here's the team. There's Trevor over on the lower right, and did he put the right team together if all we wanted was a brand new idea? And the answer is yes. But now, look at the problem now. None of these folks is interested in doing anything on the implementation side or optimization side. So Trevor's got a new problem now. How does he get a team to take this forward and maybe augment this team? But we haven't finished yet. Here's a recent, this is a recent example I had. A very good manufacturing team, top management management, making a lot of money in spite of some real quality problems. A lot of defects, a lot of rework, waste, processes that are makeshift, and people not really helping each other and not much accountability. Now this is what this 17 people, this is what they look like. Now again, remember, they're very good at overcoming these quality defects and making something happen. And if you look at what's happening here, there is only one person in that entire batch who's interested in optimization. So this company realized that its problems are not paying enough time and attention to optimizing, and what they're going to be doing is putting a lot of effort into optimizing their current processes and their quality. Here's a small spin-off company. What they've been put together because the big company is too rigid, and they're asking this group of people to come up with some new product opportunities. Here's the team they put together. Now, if you're looking for a lot of new opportunities, where would you want to weight the 4 styles? And it would be generator. And is it possible we selected the wrong mix of people? We got lots of people waiting to conceptualize, lots of people waiting to implement, but not many people really interested in coming up with new possibilities. Here's a strategy development team, large health insurance company, trying to develop a new strategy, having trouble to figure one out to recommend because things keep on changing on them, and they go around and around in circles. This is the team. All conceptualizers with one little implementer. Guess who she is? She's the administrative assistant. And this group is not going to go very far unless they could beef it up and balance this a little bit. A major high-tech software company fearing falling behind, and maybe they should be. And they're working an awful lot on what we call optimization and N1, N+1, N+2 improvements. And they may be wanting to balance this with more agility on the right-hand side and finding new products to go into. Air traffic controllers, aren't we glad? We don't want these people to be learning and devising new ways to land the plane while the planes are landing. So we're very happy they're implementation oriented. The market research team looks a lot like this. Lots of conceptualizers, and they're pretty eager to present 57 pages of great new information to the sales team who are sitting there waiting. Guess what the sales team looks like? This is very typical. Is the market research team going to be in for a big surprise? The salespeople are probably going to be falling asleep by the time the 3rd page comes up. The financial services division, what they want to do is differentiate their credit cards, and they're largely finance people, accounting people, implementation people. They know they need help, and they would ask us for some help in coming up with the right-hand side. Board of directors have to plan strategy, and a lot of directors have enjoyed successful careers in implementing. And this is what this team looked like. And their job is not implementing, their job is conceptualizing. This person here, they saw her negatively as holding them back. But once they understood, they saw that she was trying to bring them into spending more time on conceptualizing, which is their real job. So we don't have any more Enrons and places like that where people rubber stamp things. This is what people entering design people, they are very much on the right-hand side. And they go into programs like Strategy Foresight, and I go and help them find out where they're going, where they're heading, and also reminding them they're going to deal with a lot of people on the right-hand side, left-hand side, I'm sorry. This is a Lean Six Sigma Leader Symposium, and there's 200 people at this, hospitals and manufacturing. They are heavily on the left-hand side. Why is this important? The changes they're going to be making, which are good, are going to be small ones. If they could learn to balance by bringing in the other half, the generator and conceptualized side, we might have more innovations occurring when we're trying to make change. So what are our objectives? First, be confident in your own creative style. you're good. It doesn't matter if you're different from somebody else, but we need all 4 different styles. Be confident that other people can help you. Appreciate their styles and have them help you. Cognitive diversity is a big competitive edge, not what you know, but how you know it. You can diagnose team problems, find out what we're missing. Helps you put together a good team. Make sure we got the right blend of different styles. And finally, understand innovation is a process. It's not an event or happening, it's a process. Now, cognitive diversity is diversity how people think and problem solve, not so much what they know, but they're both vital. Interfunctional teams can offer 2 things. They have subject matter experts brought in, but also you can put together the cognitive problem solving diversity, and effective teams need to leverage both kinds. How about some next steps? And Bob can help you a lot with these. If you haven't taken the Basadur Profile, do it. Enjoy it, take it, and Bob will help you do it. Maybe you've got a partner, a spouse, or some teammates. Maybe you could do it together. Maybe you could take your whole team to take the profile, and you'll get a scatter diagram. Bob will help you do that. And you could talk about your differences and what your team is like. You could register for our next level 1 workshop, which is designed to build skills in the process. And that's coming up in June. Our website has that. Many people want to become certified profile administrators to use in their businesses, practices, and you can stay tuned for our next webinar, which will be coming hopefully pretty soon.
Thanks, Vin. I think once again I got a number of questions here that came through, and want to thank everybody for participating. A couple of things on the questions. One question was that do we get the slides after this? And the answer is yes. We're going to create some kind of PDF version of the presentation, and a lot of the post-webinar follow-up will include some links to the recorded webinar, but also where you can access the material and that kind of thing. So stay tuned for that. A few questions that came in, and I thought a number of these are quite interesting. One question was, what do you do in a session that you're running that is dominated by implementers, and by implementers, sort of people that kind of think, well, if I weren't here, I could be out there fixing it right now because I know what the problem is. How do you handle that kind of situation?
Yeah, that's a common question, and it's critical before you start an application session that you have people fill out the profile. Have them go do it online and come in with their results. And then you talk about it. We often put people into homogeneous groups, put down what they like and what they're good at, what they're not so good at, and share them. And it's amazing how everybody is very proud of what they are, and they do see that they're only part of the situation, and they understand there's a process. So that is fundamental, and you will never find a situation where people will ignore that and want to just run. They don't want to be bad actors. They want to follow the process. And don't forget that chant, states not traits, states not traits.
Oh, that's great, man. Another question we have here is, what do you do with a team that is already set? In other words, you know, we see a team that's been put together for some new product development, but there aren't any generators in the group. Sometimes it's impossible to go out and hire new people. You're kind of stuck with what you have. How do you handle that situation?
Yeah, this is not a great question. This is not a case of just run out and hire people. The solution isn't necessarily there. It's for you to think about. So if a team, and you're the leader of a team, and you find this out, you could be talking about how do we boost ourselves in the missing quadrant, or what do we have? What could we do? How could we build our skills in it? So awareness is big, and also are there people in the organization that we could ask to join the team? So this is just information, and you have to use your creativity to figure out how exactly. We had a top-notch vice president of manufacturing who promoted vice president of manufacturing to join 5 others, primarily because the others were all implementers, and he was shrewd enough to put this generator up there, and people said, why put him up there? Well, he knew he wanted to balance that team, so use organizational techniques to do this.
Another question
Bob's got another question.
Another question we got a couple more here, actually. How often do you see people with all 4 quadrants the same, and what does that mean?
Once in a while, you'll see some of the exactly 4 equal quadrants. Often you'll get people who are almost the same. Now, all this means is that you prefer those 4 quadrants equally. Maybe your job, for example, is so widespread that you like them all. The thing is not to worry. Some people actually worry about it. Am I a boring person or something? No. Remember, the whole thing is simply to understand the process, and you may be a very valuable person in helping the group kind of synergize and come together because you like them all. But there's really nothing to fear, and maybe it's a little bit to be proud of it.
I know. Thanks, Ben. Another question that came in: What does the placement of the dots on the scatter diagrams reflect? So when we have those dots there, how do we get those dots, and how are they placed?
Now, I mentioned profile certification, and when we certify people to really be good at the profile, this is a subject we get into. And I'll try the best I can as quickly as I can. If you've got a dot, say it's over on the implementer side, on the left-hand top, that means that your center of gravity is there. Rather than using the origin as the center of gravity, you're up over there. So if we drew the profile, if we drew the circle up there, it would be shoved up to the left-hand side, and your combination of the knowledge and the using of the knowledge has pulled you over to the left-hand side, and we actually do it like in geometry. You actually plot the dot depending on your scores with the computer, and the computer has already calculated all your scores. So there are 2 primary poles. One is the knowledge pole, and one is the usage pole. And your scores on those 2 poles will then be plotted into one of the quadrants. But would love to take you through that sometime, and maybe that'll be in another webinar. But it's getting into how the profile actually was constructed. And it was constructed with very, very careful use of the various kinds of things we know and Guilford's structure of intellect model.
Another one here. Do you know of any organizations using the profile in their hiring practices?
Yeah, we don't run around tell people to use, this would not be your only hiring practice, but we do encourage people to use it as a portion of their hiring practices when they decide, and would be able to offline talk to you about this. And there are people who in HR who have to hire who would have more bullish approaches to this and some little less bullish. So it's a great question, but it certainly could be a great tool, among others, to help you figure out what it is you need. We've encouraged HR people to, if you've got a team you can diagnose with a problem, they might be missing something, and you're asked to go hire some people to help, look around at people that might be pretty good, but don't just hire a good accountant. Hire an accountant who might also fit what style you're missing.
Got another good question that came about, and regarding the test and its validity. And the question is, do people fill this out from the standpoint of the way they really are, or the way they feel they want to be perceived?
Yeah, well, that's up to you, of course, in how honest you want to be with yourself. Of course, we're asking people to do it the way they think they are. Now, what happens if in this session you find somebody raises his hand and he says, well, I came out a conceptualized, but I really think I'm different. I think I'm an implementer. Well, I say, well, great question. What do you guys think about that? Well, maybe this thing isn't perfect for everybody. Maybe you filled it out by what you want to be rather than what you are. Maybe you just had a bad day or whatever. But what might you do regardless? Well, somebody said, well, what you might do is take it home to your spouse and have her fill it out, or him to fill it out on you, and see what they see when they see you. And you can have a talk about that. That might ferret out whether you put it down the way you want or the way you think you do. But we've done an awful lot of work. This is our 5th iteration of the profile. Started in '81, and we are number 5 now. And we tried very much to choose ways to ferret that out. And also, the profile has several dummy questions in there that you would not be aware of that is designed to keep you off the track and stop looking for the right answer, which many people would like to do. But we put that all into this profile over years of study.
Another one we had is a linkage from the profile and thinking styles to feeling styles and emotional intelligence. The linkage there, do you see a lot of linkage in that area?
We haven't really done, we've done MBTI and we've done some other things, but we haven't done emotional intelligence. But one thing I can tell you is this is very attuned to how people think and listening to other people and being in tune with them and blending your style with them. On the MBTI, for example, we do know that there are combinations that do correlate, and extroverts and introverts correlate quite well, where quadrant 1s are more extrovertish and quadrant 3s are more introvertish. People who are Ps are generally going to be quadrant 1s and 2s. People who are Js are going to be 3s and 4s. The one that doesn't correlate at all is thinking versus feeling in making decisions. In our process, you make decisions all the way through, and we have not had a correlation between I do it by thinking or do it by feeling. The people can do it either way and still be very, very good at using this process.
Another question we have is related to, we talk about people shifting, going from, if you're a strong implementer and doing conceptualizing kind of work. Is there, in your experience, have you found it hard to kind of get people to switch over and train those folks, say, to appreciate that style and to work into that and do that type of work?
Not really. It's not that hard to train, but again, it's like everything else. You can train it, but it comes through practice. And as a facilitator, if you're a facilitator, you're in charge of helping people practice. In a session, you're very aware of implementation tendencies and conceptualized tendencies, and you can have a lot of fun with people reminding them, now let's be more on the implementation side or reverse. So practice, practice, practice is big. People understand it right away in training, and they do realize that if I'm going to get good at this, I'm going to move around. And don't forget, every one of us has those tendencies. Only some are bigger than others. So it is a matter of practice. The navigator, the facilitator, is a key person to keep people aware and keep people practicing and giving them a lot of pats on the back, or maybe saying, great question, write that down because that's coming up soon as we get into the how might we's, which is the problem definition part.
Another question is related to, we talk about these are states and not traits. How malleable are people over time to this awareness of states and traits and different styles?
It really varies. There are going to be some people who just love whatever one they're in, and they could be aware of the others, but will do anything to kind of stay in the one they are. But they do appreciate the others. Some are, and these are people who might be closer to the center. Their blends are less severe, and they might find it quite easy. And often when you get good at this stuff, like for example me, I tend to prefer generation a lot, and optimization is my smallest. But boy, I've got a partner who is just outstanding at optimization, and boy, do we work well together. So the appreciation is there, and I know exactly what he's doing. And when I'm doing a group facilitating, I don't prefer optimization, but I can really do it. I mean, my background was engineering, physics or something, and I learned really well how to do optimization. It's just not the one I'd like to be in, but I can lapse into it very, very well. And I think most people can do that.
Another really great question, and one we get very often, how do you dispel the myth that the creative people are the generators, conceptualizers versus on the other side? How do you because they're typically, you know, we showed the OCAD slide of the designers over there, and typically they're the ones, that type of person is considered creative, and the people on the other side are not. So how do you spell that?
Yeah, it all goes back to the definition of creativity, and we are very, very firm on not having any definition of creativity. You ask 15 different people, what animal do you think best illustrates creativity? You're going to get 15 different answers to that. And we do that lots of times just to play this up. Somebody likes peacock because he's got lots of colors. Somebody likes raccoons because, boy, can they solve problems. There are some people who say, well, there's people who get things done quickly. We stay away from that. And what we do is we try to educate people that the creative process is everything. And if you're not going through that whole creative process, people have different skills in all of them. Some people are really creative about implementing. It's a tough job to implement. Some people are really creative. Think of Apollo 13. Really creative about solving that problem coming down. I think it was Apollo 13. How about people who really can find ways to elicit new problems from people by asking questions? How about people who are all over the map and looking for new problems to solve? To them, the name of the game is finding problems. So we are very careful. We don't distinguish between creativity and innovation. It's a process. It's a process that requires all four of them, and we like to get people feeling good about whichever one they like best is to join in with other people. An advertising agency once said, it ain't creative unless it sells. And that's one of the best things I've learned. You could have lots of ideas, but that's only part of the creative process. And also another saying that I really like is creativity is an implemented change. That's what creativity is. Unless you've done it, you haven't done anything creative. And the poet Keats once said, nothing is real until it's experienced. You can talk all you like, you can have all the ideas, but it's not real until you experience it. Like when you're running a session and you have people experiencing the whole process, now it's real. Now I feel it.
Hey, thanks, Ben. I think that's it for our questions. I really appreciate the great questions that we got, because it's always exciting to share these kinds of answers and question and answers with people who are really interested in this topic. Again, I'm going to encourage anybody and everybody. I've mentioned my email addresses here on the slide, and I encourage you after this, if you got something you want to run by us or any other questions, email us min@basadur.com and bob@basadur.com. Can't get much more straightforward than that, and we'll get back to you right away.
And we do return our emails.
And we do return our emails. So once again, thank you for attending, and stay tuned for our next one, and stay tuned for some information on where the archive webinar will be accessible. And we look forward to talking and hearing from each and every one of you after this is over. Thanks again.